Richard III lost his throne to a distant cousin, Henry Tudor. Why does that sound so familiar? Making him Henry VII, our first Tudor king. To continue our marathon, you have two options for Henry VII. Go to my video, The Shadow of the Tower versus The White Princess. Which should I watch? For this marathon, I'll be going with The White Princess. The White Princess is a 2017 television drama that covers the early years of Henry VII's reign from the point of view of his wife, Elizabeth of York, daughter of the late King Edward IV. It's the direct sequel to the last show you may have watched, The White Queen. They are both based on books by Philippa Gregory. Rating. I know it's been criticized for not being very accurate, and though it's not in my top 10, I still liked it. In many ways, this series wraps up loose ends from The White Queen. Most of the characters are survivors of the Wars of the Roses or children of people who died, and it was interesting to see what happened to them next. I became a fan of Maggie Plantagenet, the Countess of Salisbury, who was the daughter of Edward IV's brother George. Also, the costumes are very pretty, even if they do look like they came out of an R-rated Cinderella movie. Sex and nudity. There was some semi-explicit sex and nudity, but really the focus was on Henry and Elizabeth being forced together to join their houses in order to secure the throne. There wasn't even a lot of romance, just two people who really don't like each other, but slowly over time begin to respect and care for each other. Warning for borderline non-consensual interaction in the beginning. Violence and gore. It's rated TV mature, but that's for the sex and nudity. No violence or gore to be seen here. If that's what you're looking for, you're good to skip. Moving along, we next have The Spanish Princess, which is a 2019 television drama also based on a book by Philippa Gregory. But this time, it's about Catherine of Aragon, the eventual first wife of Henry VIII. Again, it feels like a continuation of The White Princess with a lot of the same people, just older. It shows us the end of Henry VII's reign and also gives us the most screen time I've ever seen for Henry VIII's older brother Arthur. Ratings. I really wanted to like this, but I didn't. It makes almost no sense timeline-wise. Henry is supposed to be like 12 when Catherine comes to England. In this, Henry actually looks like the older brother, and right from the start, there's weird sexual tension between Henry and Catherine. I'm also disappointed with the interpretation of Catherine. She acts more like Anne Boleyn. Perhaps I've been too spoiled by others who've played this role in the past. The sets and costumes are pretty or interesting in that fairy tale style, but when I wasn't being disappointed, I was just bored. Except for when Maggie Plantagenet, now Maggie Pole, was in the scene, or when we were following Margaret Tudor's story up in Scotland. She was hilarious. Sex and nudity. Definitely a lot of sex. A lot of sex that historically shouldn't be happening. But yes, if you love your romantic drama with tons of nudity, this may be a good choice for you. Violence and gore. Enough bloody battle and childbirth to keep the kids out of the room, but it would not satiate those of you who are here for the great battles. Rated TV mature. I had such a hard time choosing which Henry VIII show to go with, since I adore Keith Mitchell as Henry. But in the end, I decided to go with the more modern option, but please go watch my comparison video for Henry VIII to make the choice for yourself. That means, next up we have The Tudors. The Tudors was a 2007 Showtime drama focusing on the complete reign of Henry VIII. It covers all aspects of his life, from religion to politics, and of course, what he's most known for, having 6 wives. This is not a direct sequel to The Spanish Princess, so you might be a bit confused by things like when Henry suddenly only has one sister, which is supposed to be his younger sister, but she has his older sister's name? Oh well. FYI, this was written by the same person as Vikings. No wonder I ended up liking Vikings so much. Ratings. I think I've watched all 4 seasons of this about 5 times now. I love every moment. Yeah, okay, this is not my favorite Catherine Howard, and I admit these costumes are about as accurate as if someone with jeans walked into the scene. But hey, it's pretty and entertaining, and that's all I need to be happy. Sex and nudity. Absolutely do not let the kids in the room for this. I would have to go back again and check, but I'm pretty sure there is not a single episode that does not have sex and nudity in it. Some of it very graphic. Violence and gore. There is mostly gore in the form of childbirth, plague, executions, and torture. There is a battle in the final season, but if you made it that far, then you'll be fine. If that's all you want, probably not worth making it that far. Rated TV mature. Unfortunately, there are very few options to watch in-depth movies and TV shows about our next 3 monarchs. In my opinion, the best version of Edward VI was in the show Becoming Elizabeth, which I talk about in my Elizabeth comparison video. However, they decided to cancel it, so instead we'll be going with Lady Jane. This movie is a 1986 film about Lady Jane, also known as the 9 Days Queen, but it's also one of the few options that shows us Edward VI during his brief time as king and the beginning of Mary I. Ratings. In my opinion, this movie doesn't get nearly the attention it deserves, but not everyone likes sad movies, and warning you now, this is about a teenager who is only queen for 9 days. I am not a crier, and this movie makes me cry. It has a really impressive cast. Lady Jane Grey was played by a young Helena Bonham Carter. Her husband, Lord Guildford Dudley, was played by Cary Elwes. Even the supporting roles were fantastic. The sets and costumes are some of my favorites. Sex and nudity. There is some implied sex, but nothing graphic. It focuses on the slow build-up romance between Lady Jane and her political marriage with Guildford Dudley. Violence and gore. It's rated PG-13, probably because it is so sad. Again, nothing graphic. All the battles and executions take place off screen. Okay, so we left off with Queen Mary I declaring herself queen, but we don't actually have any movies or TV shows that are specifically about what history came to call her, Bloody Mary, so instead we'll move right along to Elizabeth. There are so many outstanding options. Please check out my comparison video. In order to cover one of the longest reigning monarchs, we'll start off with Elizabeth. This is an award-winning movie that spans the beginning of Elizabeth's reign, focusing on her learning what it really means and what she'll have to sacrifice in order to protect herself and remain queen. Throw in some romance, some murder, and generally Elizabeth being the courageous person she was. Ratings. I can't say enough nice things about this movie. It incorporates so much while not feeling jumbled or confusing. Cate Blanchett ties for my #1 actress for Elizabeth, along with Glenda Jackson. Sorry, Helen, I love you too. Sex and nudity. There is definitely sexual relations, but nothing super graphic. Mostly good romance between Elizabeth and Robert Dudley, who is played by Joseph Fiennes. Violence and gore. Hands down, my favorite performance of Francis Walsingham by Geoffrey Rush. He is terrifying. Yes, people are being burned alive and torture is happening, but no, the scariest part of this movie is him. Rated R for violence and sexuality. From here, you could watch the direct sequel Elizabeth the Golden Age, but I prefer instead ending with Elizabeth I. It's a very easy transition from one to the other, going from Elizabeth's early years to her later years. It covers all the major events of her later life and gives us a realistic glimpse into how strong she stayed until the end, how respected she was, while also giving us a look at her vulnerabilities. Ratings. Helen Mirren is a fantastic older Elizabeth, but it's not just her that makes this TV series great. The whole cast deserves praise. The sets were amazing, and the script kept me engaged the entire time. This was the version of Elizabeth that made her feel the most real to me. Sex and nudity. Nothing explicit. However, if you are uncomfortable watching a young man romance an older woman, you might want to skip those parts. Violence and gore. Have you been disappointed every time you watched an execution and the camera pans away right at the point of impact? Well, you don't need to worry about that. This time you get to see heads fly in all their detail. I was not ready for that. Rated TV mature. And there you have it. Next up, we have our Stuart Kings and Queens. Happy watching.